They're among the world's most fascinating vehicles, official state cars. Some consider them the pinnacle of the art of auto production. For heads of state, they're just good enough. What do they mean for dictators or for democracies? What security do they offer in the event of a terrorist attack? And how are their escort drivers trained? Let's find out. Chapter 1. Training the Escorts. How do you escort a guest of state? Members of the military police are being trained in Berlin. They're set to be deployed with their motorcycles as escorts for a visiting guest. For security reasons, we're not using their full names. Master Sergeant Thomas M. is their instructor. They have to be in complete control of their 200-kilo motorcycles.
Grab the rope, drive around, stay stable, watch your line of sight, and let go. Good work.
The training takes 3 months. They also have to learn how to drive in various formations at high speeds, and later on the street to change their formation immediately when they get a remote command.
Okay, finish the course to the front and park in a nice straight line the way we do it.
Today they're also leaving the barracks. The German military police are part of the armed forces. They're only responsible for receiving high-ranking foreign military personnel, officials and defence ministers. The civilian police in Germany are responsible for most guests of state. They all have to learn to drive precisely at high speeds.
In the wedge formation, we drive 15 centimeters apart at speeds of up to 130 kilometers an hour.
You can see just how precisely they master the exercise and change their formation on command through the windshield of the command vehicle.
Make way, yes, and switch again.
Chapter 2. The Motorcade. There are deployments for the Berlin military police every week, and now it's time to pick up a guest of state. Punctuality and safety are the top priorities for Captain Patrick M. and his officers. They're already familiar with the route.
Still, we always have to drive the route again, at least on the day before, to see if there are any roadworks so that we can avoid them.
Now it's time for the real work. This armoured state car is ready to take the Bosnian defence minister across Berlin. The German defence minister is already waiting for his Bosnian counterpart, and tardiness is not an option for the military police.
Of course, what we're managing here, arriving on schedule, wouldn't have been possible for a civilian driver.
They're tricks of the trade. They can deliberately drive slowly, or go through red lights with their 30-metre-long motorcade. It's hard to believe, but some motorists even dare to drive right into the armed military police's formation.
Some motorists don't care if our blue lights are flashing or not.
Here's what the motorcade looks like. First come the sweepers on motorbikes who clear the route. Then the pilot vehicle, the motorcycles in wedge formation, the VIP armoured car with the Bosnian defence minister, the control vehicle, a van with the defence minister's delegation, and at the rear reserve drivers, and the military police vehicle. But there are also state visits with the highest security levels. For example, when the US president comes to town. In this case, the entire motorcade can be over 100 metres long, including ambulances. Chapter 3. State cars and the symbols of power. The Bosnian defence minister is welcomed on time by his German counterpart, Boris Pistorius. The journey took 40 minutes. And now a ceremony awaits him as part of the state visit.
I'm very happy you're here.
Later, they'll talk about joint NATO defences in Europe. But first, a regimental salute by the Army Music Corps' Honour Guard, and then the ministers inspect the troops. Next, the German soldiers who died defending Bosnia-Herzegovina in the Yugoslav wars are commemorated. Large motorcades have their roots in centuries-old traditions of the royal courts of Europe. The populace is forced to stop at blocked intersections and is expected to greet the ruler and cheer. Today, that's best preserved by the British monarchy, when the royal Bentley or carriages drive through the whole of London, for example at the coronation of King Charles. Large dinners with heads of state, diplomats and celebrities from the host country are also part of the ceremonies.
Mr. President, you too have a particular connection to this country.
That's how it works in democracies, but what about autocracies? Russian President Vladimir Putin also knows how to use the power of state cars. He even gave North Korean dictator Kim Jong-un this Aurus Senat, a Russian-made state limousine, because Kim loves luxury cars, even if his people have little to eat. Chapter 4: Security. German military and civilian police forces are armed. This exercise only involves a staged car accident, but in an emergency, they have to defend themselves and the guest of state in the event of a terrorist attack. So, when training escorts, Thomas M. shows them how. A state car under fire can even get away with flat tyres. More on that later. Moving on from the democratic world, under authoritarian regimes, routes can simply be closed off. And leaders can ride standing up through the sunroof without being at risk. Just like when President Xi Jinping joined a parade in a Hongqi CA-72, a historic Chinese model, to mark the 70th anniversary of the People's Republic of China. The US President's Cadillac is a state limousine with ultra-high security technology. When he goes on a state visit, he always takes two identical vehicles with him. One drives to the destination as a decoy, and the president rides in the other. This Cadillac is nicknamed the Beast and cost around $1.5 million. The tank holds 40 litres of diesel. If there's a risk of fire, a foam nozzle is activated and the foam neutralises the flammable fuel. The tyres are reinforced with fire-retardant Kevlar. There are also steel rims underneath so that if the tyres suffer a puncture, the Beast can keep on driving. All doors are armour-plated and 20 centimetres thick, as well as hermetically sealed against chemical attacks. The over 12 centimetre thick windows are also bulletproof and can withstand even high-caliber bullets. The chassis is a truck frame that's been reinforced against exploding landmines. The Beast carries automatic weapons, a grenade launcher and a blood supply matching the president's blood type. Other car manufacturers are also in on the act. Mercedes has its various armoured models shot at in its own tests. This is how they test the car's security against terrorist attacks, with high-caliber bullets, machine guns and explosives. Some of the most common and most secure state cars are the specially armoured versions of the Mercedes S-Class. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi gets chauffeured in a Mercedes-Maybach S650, while German Chancellor Olaf Scholz rides in an S680 Guard. The German Beast. At its core, it has a so-called high-security compartment, an armoured steel frame, plus additional layers against heat and bullets to protect the passengers. The car has its own automatic fire extinguishing system, as well as an emergency oxygen supply. 10 centimetre thick bulletproof glass windows and 612 horsepower with a top speed of 190 kilometres an hour. The price, at least €500,000. Weighing over 4 tonnes, it's unwieldy on curves, and the chauffeur even needs a commercial driver's licence.
Ehrendeskorte, still!
But without their work, the security of guests of state could not be guaranteed. The military police and the captain are satisfied at the end of their mission because their guest of state has arrived safely. But for them, good work often isn't good enough.
When we're back in the barracks, we do a debriefing and then an evaluation. We do that for every deployment. Whether it's positive or negative, an evaluation is always carried out. You can only improve.
Back at the barracks, they keep on training, standing at attention, protecting, being punctual, gallant and chivalrous, a mark of respect for guests of state. Because in their state car, those guests are the top priority. What do you think? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel.